Hello, everybody. My name is Asher, your host for the Revenue Journey podcast, where we interview and grab unique perspectives from amazing individuals doing technology sales within the APAC and ASEAN region. Welcome to episode 7 of the podcast. I want to first say a big thank you to all the listeners and supporters of the podcast so far. Now I've had quite a few people reaching out to me via LinkedIn, sharing how they enjoyed the episodes and they loved the fact that there was a podcast that had guests from the APAC and ASEAN region and is dedicated to this region. Now, of course, I also want to thank those that gave your feedback on how the podcast can be improved. At the same time, I've had people reaching out to me wanting to break into tech sales. Some of them also asked me what were my main reasons for wanting a career in tech sales. So I thought this would be a good episode for me to share my top 3 reasons for why tech sales could be a good career choice for you, and these are my personal reasons. So with that being said, let's get this episode started. Now here are my top 3 reasons. Number 1, earning potential. Now it's a known fact to many people that tech sales or sales in general can be a very lucrative career. And it makes sense, right? Because salespeople are the ones having these direct conversations with potential customers. They are also at the front lines of negotiation, and what they do typically have a direct impact on the company's bottom line, which is why companies are willing to pay top dollars for very good salespeople. But remember, it's earning potential that we are talking about and not just money as the reason. Now this is simply because getting those big checks or big salary requires that you bring in the results. And that means you got to put in the hours to get good at your craft and be disciplined to become better and to continue to do the boring tasks every single day. That could be prospecting, that could be training, that could be rehearsal, whatever that can be. If you don't, you could just live off the base salary for a period of time, but you can be sure that you won't have a job for long. But at the end of the day, I know the monetary reward is there as long as I work hard and become better each and every single day. And some of you may be thinking like, hey Asher, you're being a little bit money-minded here. I have to say that I'm not being money-minded, but what I would say is that I value the importance of money. Now you got to understand that I grew up in a family where I had 3 other siblings. My mom and dad did not graduate from secondary school, and they were always working odd jobs and getting close to minimum wage. Now growing up, we had our basic needs covered, and I was thankful for most of those experiences because it really taught me the value and importance of money. But one thing is that I learned at a very young age or very early on that money gives us choices. Now, for example, if you're tired after a long day, you have the choice to take the taxi home instead of the public transport, which could save you 30 minutes of time, especially in a country like Singapore. And I will never forget this one time when my dad had to send my grandma to an appointment at a public hospital. Now, due to several reasons that day, they were late by 15 minutes for the appointment, and they were asked by the receptionist to get a new appointment instead. And because of that, they had to wait another 3 hours because there were just so many others in the queue. And most of the time, the general public will go into public hospitals for checkups like this. Now, with money, at that point in time, you had a choice to get a private hospital instead, and the experience could probably have been much better. So that is why for someone like me who grew up in a certain environment, I wanted to have a career that had high earning potential. Now this ties into reason number 2, and that is my reward is much more closely tied to the effort I put in. Now I feel that not many other roles can give you that unless it's a role with a clear numerical KPI. Now one thing I like about sales is that the KPI is really clear. You have a quota, which is a number. As long as you hit it, you get the opportunity to progress in your career. And also, it's closely tied to my effort. So if I want to hit my quota sooner, I can just get more feedback from my managers to increase my conversion rate, to increase my close rate, or I could just try to talk to more prospects so that I could just get more opportunities to close more deals. Now, if I wanted to hit my quota as an SDR, I can simply increase my number of prospecting activities. Now, of course, there are many things that I can't control, such as whether the buyer will eventually buy, but I feel that I can influence most things, and I feel that in general, I'm in control of most things as well. And lastly, I would have to say this is one of my biggest reasons why I stay in sales, and that is I am addicted to the feeling of winning. Now, I remember during my last internship in university, I was actually a corporate sales intern back then. And I had the chance to sell a point of sales solution to many mom and pop shops, mini marts, F&B stores. And I remember back then there was this particular existing customer who was calling our customer support, complaining how her current system wasn't working, how she wanted us to give her a free upgrade and everything. And I remember she was passed around to different people, right? Passing from the customer support to other salespeople back then. And I remember back then the veteran salespeople didn't really want to deal with her. They rather deal with newer customers who didn't have a point of sale solutions, who were more willing to buy and be more open to just spend money to buy. And of course, at that moment, they thought to themselves, why not let's just pass this particular complaining customer to the intern and let him get an idea of how customers react and how customer interaction is like. So unwillingly, I took on that call, but with enthusiasm, and I spoke to the customer. And through conversations and through discussion, we realized that she could actually apply for a particular grant, and that allowed her to firstly purchase a newer, better system from us, an upgraded system, and at the same time, she doesn't really have to spend much. So I remember after multiple conversations with her, I went down to her store maybe 2 to 3 times, and I finally closed the deal. And I remember at that moment, that was my first ever sales in a technology company. And I loved that feeling. And I told myself I want that feeling again. I got addicted to that feeling of winning. Now, even during my time in software as a service in SaaS as an SDR, I've had times when I don't feel motivated to prospect because I haven't had prospects replying to me. It's either they ignore my email or they tell me that, hey, I'm not interested, not the right time. But as I discipline myself daily to continue prospecting, somehow a positive reply would come back and I would feel that high feeling again. I would feel that feeling of winning again. And I'm constantly chasing for that high again and again. As I like to tell people, it almost feels like it's a drug that you constantly want. And in this case, it's a healthy drug actually. And at the same time, you get to rejoice and be happy in the fact that you made a change in that person's business with the use of your technology. So that was my top 3 reasons on why I feel tech sales is a good career for me, and potentially it could be a good career for you as well. Now, hopefully for those of you who are already in tech sales, maybe you resonated with it. Now, for those of you who are considering a career in tech sales, just again, know that these 3 reasons are personal to me. And if you want to get more perspectives, I strongly encourage you to just talk to more people, and then you decide for yourself whether this is a career you want. Now, with that being said, we have come to the end of this episode. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button. Once again, my name is Asher. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn by typing in Asher Chua. That's ASHER space CHUA, or click on my profile link in this episode's description. I welcome feedback or any suggestions on any particular topic or any suggestions on guests that I should bring on next. But for now, take care, stay safe, and have a great revenue journey.